everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and right there is Nikki Kinzer.
Are you sure you're Pete Wright?
I'm Pete Wrong today, Nikki Kinzer.
I know.
When I tell you, I feel so bad about today's podcast because we're doing it in secret.
I know we are. Our Patreon members don't know about it.
They don't even know that it's happening, and they don't know it's happening because I have been so sick this week. As sick as I've been in a long time, and I missed pretty much a week, but we still have a show must go on.
So that's right.
We grabbed the very little time that we have because we have something to talk about, and we're just recording it. And so to Patreon supporters, we're so sorry. I am so sorry that we're doing this in secret. But we promise back to normal.
I was going to say
week.
we'll be back. Hopefully, we'll be back to normal. Yeah.
Well, actually, by the time people hear this, we will already have been back to normal.
Good.
So that's the good news. So there we go. It is. It's a big, fat, Happy New Year to you, Nikki.
Happy New Year to you.
Can you believe we haven't talked since the big New Year?
I know. It's been a long time. And now you're sick. Bummer.
Yeah, right? Welcome to 2019.
I know.
I wrote my first check, and I didn't screw it up.
You still write checks?
I did have. It was Girl Scout cookies, Nikki.
Oh, okay.
You write checks for the Girl Scout.
Say.
Girl Scout comes to your door and says, "We need cookies. You need cookies. I need checks." I give them a check.
That's right. You get your cookies.
I stand up and deliver.
That's right. Good for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling good about that.
That's awesome.
And I'm feeling good that I wrote actually 2019 on the check. That was good news.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk about, that and so much more today. In fact, we're not talking about checks. We're talking about designing your life today. And I'm excited to see where this question came from. Before we dig in, head over to TakeControlADHD.com. You can get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to our mailing list on the homepage and get an email each time a new episode is released. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD. And if this show has ever made an impact on your life, on the way you live your life, on the way you have designed your life, we sure would appreciate it if you'd consider becoming a paying supporter of the show at patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. It's listener-supported podcasting. That's what we're doing over there. And a few bucks from you each month, if this show is important to you, helps us to grow the show, to do new things. And we are on the cusp of meeting our first goal of covering the costs of hosting the show and our time and being able to introduce a brand new feature that people have been asking for a long time, and that is transcripts. As soon as our costs are covered and we're able to cover the costs of getting human-generated transcripts of the show done each week, we're going to do that. And that is thanks directly to the support of our Patreon members. And in fact, you don't even have to be a Patreon supporter to get the transcripts. It's available for everybody, but it is thanks to the incredible generosity of folks who have decided that this show is valuable enough to them to be able to support us financially with a few bucks a month. So again, patreon.com/the ADHD podcasts. Transcripts are coming. This is the year for it. We're so close to hitting that first goal. Close. And you also get other stuff. You can join the Discord community and meet a whole bunch of wonderful people who are doing great things for each other in the community of supporters there. So thank you so much in advance. If you are considering, thank you to our supporters. Here's to a great 2019.
Yes.
All right.
And guess what I did in 2019?
What did you do?
I canceled voicemail.
You did? We don't have the voicemail anymore.
No. And, we talked about this 2 years ago or a year ago, and I had renewed it anyway. And but no, we finally got rid of the voicemail because it just wasn't being used. And for me, getting rid of it, I saved $40.
There you go.
Woohoo!
Go support a podcast on Patreon.
That's right. Exactly. Got to do something. So anyway, I just wanted people to know that it is no longer available. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from people either. So we have other ways that we can connect people to get on the show or to, have their voice be heard. Email us and we'll be your voice.
Used it.
Nobody used it.
It happens so infrequently that we got voicemails in. And clearly, people communicate with us all the time. We just found they didn't call us.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So there was, before we get into designing your life, there was a question that came in, and this listener was really excited to hear that we would be answering it on the next podcast. So
so we better answer it.
Yes, we have to answer it. So this is the question. I was not diagnosed until I was 29. I have always been into being organized, and I feel less anxious while trying to take control. My problem is that I start and stop different systems, or I begin something like it, then feel like it still can be better. How do you handle the constant need for change while wanting consistency? Is this normal? I love listening to you. Thank you.
I love this question. Thank you so much for writing. I definitely, I have a thought.
I know you do. That's why I'm not saying anything.
All right, here you go. This is it. This is the magic bullet. This is the thing that is going to answer all of your wonders. The constant need for change is the guaranteed consistency in your life.
Yep.
I am both sorry and delighted to be able to tell you that, but that comes with a diagnosis.
Yeah.
That's part of the baggage.
Right.
And it can be a blessing and a curse,
mm-hmm.
but it is exactly where you are. That is the only thing you can count on, is that you're going to have to keep swimming all the time.
Yeah, because isn't it interesting? I mean, we've talked about this before, because even you and I are great examples.
Yeah.
I was doing Todoist, you were doing things, and then all of a sudden I switched to things and you were doing Todoist. I mean, it just happens. It's like, you find something you really like, and then it doesn't work exactly the way you thought, and then you find something else that looks better, and you transfer everything, and it works for a while. And I do think it's very normal. I do think it's part of the diagnosis. And I mean, the reality too is there's nothing that's exactly perfect, right? I mean, there is no perfect system. So it's finding something that is good enough that keeps making you feel like you're taking control and lessening that anxiety. But keep swimming, keep looking, and don't feel bad about it.
Well, that's the thing. I think once you get used to the fact that, so this is it. This is what I'm trying to change is not the fact that I need to change all the time. Okay. Like once you wrap your head around the fact that that's life, you can start to normalize to it. You can acclimatize to it, to the fact that, around every corner is going to be something new that you're going to want to try. And that comes with its own little bit of exhilaration and exhaustion, because that there's, if it's like we were talking about, systems, our work management systems, there's an exhaustion around migration. But there's also exhilaration that comes with the opportunity of trying something new and learning something new about yourself and how your brain works. And that's a powerful incentive. And so it's difficult, whether it's a living system in your house that you're trying to figure out, is something as simple as trying to figure out how to do the laundry right, in a way that works for you.
Right.
Or something more complicated, like, it's coming up with tax season here in the U.S. Like that can be a debilitating thing year to year for people who are struggling with ADHD. And so I think that's it. Just keep swimming. Dory had it right the whole time.
That's right. Oh, little Dory. Okay, so that is the question. I hope that helps.
Me too.
Steer you the way you need to go. All right, so we're going to talk about something kind of like New Year's stuff.
Well,
but it's not.
How did this come up? We're not talking about resolutions or yearly themes. We're talking about designing your life.
Yes, but it kind of goes into the resolutions, but not in a traditional way that people think of it, right?
Yeah.
So designing your life, I don't know where this came from. It actually was a title I probably heard on somebody else's podcast, a blog post. I probably heard it in a commercial. I don't know where I heard it, but somehow
designing
it resonated.
Your life around Tide Pods.
Exactly, right? Like they're not for children. I don't know.
Important safety tip.
That's right. So, but it definitely resonated, because to me, this is empowering, right? I'm designing my life, and sometimes, and this is a lot of personal stuff I'm going to talk about today. So I hope people resonate with it. If not, you can listen to next week. I did a lot of reflection. And when I think about designing my life, I think, okay, I have the power to make choices and to make changes. And it's up to me, which is just very empowering. So I like that. But what has happened when I was doing this reflection is I have this bullet journal that I started last year around my health, right? And I looked at what my goals were and what my kind of wishes were last year at this time, and they're exactly the same as they are this year. Didn't feel like there was a lot of progress being made. And then when I started thinking about it, I'm like, okay, these are the same goals I had the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that. So I'm thinking, what's going on here? Something's not quite right. And, I know I'm not alone. It's kind of like I know what I want to do, but I'm just not doing it. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, what would I say to somebody if they were experiencing this themselves? I would, well, how important are these goals really? Right. If you're not making time to do them, how important really are they? But they are important, Pete. They're for my well-being. So I know they're important. And I don't want to stop focusing on them. However, I've also kind of been thinking, all right, I need a new approach. I just need to do something different. And in the past, in my bullet journal, I will have tracked things, right? So it's like, okay, 8 glasses of water, and I have these little 8 boxes. And every time I drink a glass of water, I check it. Well, what was happening is that I would maybe do half of that, but then the other half was all empty boxes. And that's really discouraging because all you're seeing is that I didn't make the goal.
Right.
And, we're trying to, I think that like for me, it was also like, okay, this is the lifestyle I want. I want to do yoga every day. I want to meditate every day. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to do all this stuff. And it was all future oriented. I also realized that a lot of the things that I wanted in my life don't have end dates. So when you set them up as a goal, it already screws it up because there isn't a beginning or an end to drinking more water in your day, right? I mean, I guess there is if you're measuring it by 8 glasses. I mean, I guess you could technically say that's a measure. Yeah, but only insofar as it's over at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Tomorrow is a new day, which is good and bad. Like yeah. And some people love tracking.
Because how many people track, like, I want to drink 4,325 glasses of water this year.
Right.
Like nobody does that.
Nobody does that. And if you say, oh, I want to do 30 minutes of exercise a day, I can put that in my bullet journal and track it. But again, what I was focusing on is every time I didn't do it. And then I get into this mindset of, screw it. I don't have time for it. So I'm just not going to do it at all. Then I don't do anything with the bullet journal and I just move on with my life. And then I get stuck in the same place as I am right now. So, I have to do something different. And so this is what I decided. There are no more empty boxes in my bullet journal.
Okay.
So I do believe that there is a very magical part of journaling. I do think it's important, and I know lots of weight loss people are going to say, well, people who track their food lose more weight, right? Because they're paying more attention. Well, that's probably true, but I'm not going to do that because it didn't work because I would do it for 2 days and then I would never write anything down. So what I'm doing now is I have some important words that are sort of like not resolutions, but they're just important words to me that I want, my values that I want to follow this year. And then when I do write in my bullet journal, it's all going to be about what I'm doing, not about what I'm not doing. So I meditated today and you know what? This is what happened. This is, I felt a lot more at peace. I actually, felt even more connected to my clients than normal. Anything that it is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to focus.
Here's a thing I accomplished and my experience with it.
Yes, this is what I accomplished. This is how I feel about it. And, I think that the biggest thing is that next year I want to go back and read what I wrote. And I want to, instead of seeing somebody who is struggling or feeling bad about themselves, I want to see someone who's trying, someone who's had good days and bad days, but they don't let the bad days overwhelm her. Mm-hmm. And I want to see positive thoughts and moments of reflection where I can learn from myself, or learn more about myself and what's important to me. And then I want to see the progress and understand that it's not a beginning and end, but just to see the progress.
Do you have a different set of goals that are goals that do have ends this year?
Well, I don't in particular, because most of all of my goals are really more
personal things,
personal health, wellness things.
Right.
But I do know that a lot of people do. And because there are goals out there that are, a beginning and end. What's your question about that?
Milestones, right?
Yeah, milestones.
Like milestones of accomplishment.
Right.
And I think that's an important thing, because that's where, I go with the empty boxes bit, because on one hand, I absolutely see where you're going and how it can be really just sad to look at the empty boxes in the bullet journal and see, well, here's another day I didn't meet my goal. Mm-hmm. And yet then I look at some of the things that are practical, pragmatic, like work projects, things that I want to, that have milestone deliveries, that are things I want to do. Nobody else is counting on me to do them.
Right.
Technically, they don't have an end date other than one that's arbitrary. But, they're things I need to do, finish, build, and schedule into my day. Such that, when I reach the end of the year, I'll be able to say, yeah, I got all 2,000 posts, migrated to the new website. I did a new design for my own website.
A lot of value, right? Because you're looking at what you accomplished.
Exactly. Because I did it and scheduled the time and put the boxes on the page every single day. And so I think that's, because I have the same, it's a different way to go into the goals, but it's the same outcome, right? I mean, if I see the empty boxes every day that I didn't migrate 5 posts today, I still feel that same feeling of just, I've let myself down. Like, this isn't, so, being able to come up with a rhythm and a routine and something that lets me get to the other side of the self-judgment, that self-loathing of not accomplishing what I said I was going to do. That's an important thing. And also, I've been really sick, so it's easy to be sad about myself.
Oh, you can't be sad about yourself. You're sick. No, right. It is interesting, though, because I think it's important to identify what kind of goals you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
because I think if you do have one that doesn't have that end date, it is going to be more of a journey, something that's going to be more progressive, like, getting more into habits and things like that. But when you do have an end date, I think it is important to understand, this is the goal. This is the type of goal that I'm looking at. And so how do I approach it? And so everybody can approach it, whatever helps them. If the tracking helps, then do it. But I think that that's what you have to figure out, is how can I track this in a way that I'm not feeling bad about the days that I don't do what I think I'm going to do. Plus, I mean, the problem with this ADHD is that we always think that we can do more than we can. And so sometimes the goals or that what we want to get done in a day is so unrealistic. So I think you also have to kind of step back too and think about, what can you really get done? What's reasonable? And if you don't get there, not feeling bad, but again, looking at the progress that you've made. So I think a lot of it you can still kind of turn over. It's just that it's just a different end result.
You know Seth Godin?
Of course I do.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Well, you're the one that told me about him.
Oh, well,
long time ago.
My job is done.
Yes.
I'm going to steal his post that came across my feeds yesterday or today or something in my delirium. And he asked his post, he's a marketing guy, Seth Godin. And so, his questions sometimes nail the marketing angle. But what he said is, the title of the post was, do you have a marketing problem? Because it's really easy to know when you have a roofing problem, right? You need a roofer because you have a leak in your roof, right? You know when you have your drywall is soggy you have a plumbing problem.
Right.
You got a leaky pipe. You got to call a plumber. You have your insulation problem. Your windows are drafty. You call a builder, right? Those are the problems that you can easily assign, a solution. And sometimes, for me in my ADHD head, those signals get crossed. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And I have a problem or a challenge, or, we've been talking in the Discord server a lot about fitness and wellness. And sometimes, I can go year, 2 years. You've heard me on the show being very enthusiastic about, my own fitness and weight loss, issues, and then the chronic pain for 2 years dealing with my foot issues. Like those are things that I sometimes, those are challenges that I sometimes cross. Like, I have when I have a physical fitness problem, I don't always know whether to call, who to call on inside mm-hmm. myself or external to myself, and sometimes end up calling a roofer. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that is a persistent challenge.
Yeah.
And I'll speak just for me, but I know I'm thinking about others who are living with ADHD who I can call on as exemplars that share that, mm-hmm. That being able to determine, what your challenge is, what you want to accomplish, and marshal the resources you need to accomplish it. Those things don't always line up.
Right.
And that can be very, very frustrating. And going back to the question that we opened with, the need to constantly change mm-hmm. is the only way that you're going to figure out how to get those signals straight. And it may take a long time. Mm-hmm. It may take a long time to figure out that your roofing problem requires a roofer and your physical fitness problem requires a coach and your whatever. Like right. those, it may take a long time, but eventually you'll get there.
I love that.
That's Seth Godin.
Amazing.
What else do we have?
All right. So this is what I want to wrap in, or this is how I kind of want to wrap this together. Or does that make sense? Wrap it together. Sure. I'm going to circle back. I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to circle back to this whole starting something different.
Is there anything you're going to put a pin in it? Is there anything you're going to put a pin in? No. Are you going to park it? We're going to put it in a parking lot.
I'm going to circle it.
And then circle around.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, going back to what I was going to say. I'm a huge Today Show fan. Love the Today Show.
You do?
I do. I watch it every morning when I get ready. When I get ready for work, I always watch it. Although anyway. Okay, so this is what Carson Daly and Carson Daly, yes, from MTV Days.
Oh, yeah, TRL.
Yeah. He's a grown man now in his mid-40s. Yes. But this is...
Shut your mouth, Nikki Kinzer. I'm not that old.
Well, we're as old as he is, so... But no, this is what I want to say. And I really loved what he said, because he was talking about resolutions on the show. And this is what he said. So, pretend like I'm Carson. Or maybe you should read it because you're a man. You go ahead and read it. Yeah.
I can't. There is no good Carson Daly impression. So maybe I'll just read it like me.
Okay.
I think bigger than just the weight, the food, all that stuff is every day. We all struggle with that. We all do the best we can. My new thing is compartmentalizing. As a parent, we get stuck in the calendar. We're always looking forward on our calendar to find the moment of happiness, of relief from life. My thing is just 24 hours. Now I wake up and I'm like, thank you, God. I got a new day, a fresh day. How can I be the best husband, the best father, the best coworker, the best fellow citizen? I've got today. I've got this right now in this moment.
And then I'm going to add to that, because then I was on Facebook the other day and this quote popped up, right? And I believe in the universe, right? I believe that signs come to me when they need to. And so this quote comes up and says, don't think about what can happen in a month or a year. Focus on the 24 hours in front of you and do what you can to get closer to where you want to be. And this is it for me. This is it. So it's not only just focusing on what I'm doing, but it's just focusing on today. What can I do today to make it a good day? What can I do today to get closer to my goals? And it doesn't mean that I necessarily am going to be exercising 30 minutes a day, but maybe I did go for a walk with my dog. I mean, I don't know what it looks like yet, but this was really, this stood out to me as being very important. You know, it's what we can do right now.
I love it. And I also love that this ties so well into the brilliant, you'll remember Monica, the fantastic, Monica, Nikki. She's your assistant.
Yes.
And she's was on the show late last year.
Yes.
She's brilliant and kind. She had this great idea that I think ties in perfectly to this.
Yes, she did. So she put on our Facebook page. She wanted to know from our readers or the people that are on Facebook, what was their focus for the new year? Mm-hmm. And so I want to share that with our listeners because I think that it's interesting. It's always interesting to hear what other people are focusing on and think about, especially, when they've got some of the same challenges as you do with ADHD. So I wanted to share some of these comments.
Should we alternate?
Yeah, you go first.
All right, that'll be good. Each Saturday, there will be a throwing out party. Organization of my office is a must.
I love that. Who doesn't want to organize, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, a lot of people. But
a lot of people, yeah.
Tidying up is actually quite the Netflix show right now. It's trending because it's the gal that wrote the book about joy. Like, does this bring you joy? I can't remember what the actual title is, but it's inspiring a lot of people to declutter. So that's always a very, very positive thing. So the next comment was calm and clutter.
Mm-hmm. Calm and clutter.
Gotta like that.
Next one is my focus is to narrow my focus to a few things and not 1,000. And not just physical clutter, but emails, thoughts, activities, etc. It's great. It also makes me laugh because of Karate Kid. This is a line that we use in our house all the time. And it's the remake of the Karate Kid because, my kids, generation whatever, they don't know the
look
real
at old movies.
Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. No,
right.
They look at the new one, and it's Jackie Chan looks at the Jaden Smith.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, looks at him and says, "Your focus needs more focus," and that has become the marching order at my house, and it's a nice thing. It makes you smile, and I think about it all the time. Your focus needs more focus.
Well, and I have to say I resonate with her because, or him, I can't remember, but, focus on a few things, right? That kind of goes, again, circling back around. It's like, let's just focus on a couple things, not everything at once.
Right.
Okay. Myself and my needs, hopes, and desires. Congratulations, because putting yourself first is a great thing. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. I'm struggling with that currently. It was shop, plan. Now what? I'm limbo at the moment. Kids don't go back to school until the 8th, focusing on being unfocused until a goal presents itself.
Well, and I have to say, I love her honesty because being in limbo, especially when kids are still at home, you just don't have the focus. You really don't know what you need to do. You really are just sort of kind of, surviving the holidays. But when I look at this, I think, you know what? She's exactly where she's supposed to be. This is exactly what she's supposed to be not worried, but focused on. And, keep the faith and something will come out of it probably after the kids have gone back to school and your routine has, gone back to normal. So I love her honesty. I think it's great.
Me too. I will focus on being me and not ashamed of what I have.
Yay! You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed.
And then finally, reality. I'm going to start focusing on not how to try to force change, but on working with the way I know I am and how I can make that work for me.
Yay!
Yeah, right.
Another standing ovation. I mean, those are great. That really wraps up, I think, a lot of what we have said. Something I do want to leave sort of a little bit as a challenge for our listeners is to think about, if you happen to be in the same situation as I've been in and you've noticed that some of these things have been repeating goals, year after year, to, think about how you can do something different this year to get you a little bit closer, something small, something that you can do today. The other thing that I really encourage people to do is, pay attention to the lessons that have been learned, the experiences you've had or that you're having this year, the times that you showed great strength, because so many times we just ignore that. And strength also includes the times where you just have to throw your hands up in the air, surrender, and say, you know what? I'm starting again tomorrow.
tomorrow is the first glass of water.
Right. And we go 24 hours a day. That's it. So that's what I have. I also want to just say a big thank you. I mean, I know we talk about Patreon members, but I also want to say thank you to our listeners, our Patreon members, my clients, everybody that is paying attention to what Pete and I have to say, which still boggles me that you actually care. And, you know, you let us into your lives, and we really appreciate that. You do care about the same things that we do. And if we can make a difference, then, you know, Pete and I are then serving our mission and purpose to being here. And cheers to a new year.
Well, yeah, you know, we talk about year of themes, you know, yearly themes, and I don't think I've talked about mine on the show. Maybe I have, but the one that really comes back to me is that this is, for me, it's a year of community. Mm-hmm. It's a year of reaching out to, for me. Like I've done the year of less and minimalism. I've done the year of having fewer opinions. That was a great year. That was a liberating year. Mm-hmm. But if I've learned anything since since we've really, I think, done more to learn how to, reach out and how to listen and how to create a space for others to join the conversation, that has been enormously rewarding. And, the people in this community, I feel no hesitation to say that these are friends, great friends, mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. people that I count on, and who demonstrate that they care for me, right? And they care for what is going on in my life, and I deeply value that. Mm-hmm. And so this is the year of community, and I would just encourage people to think about your own communities. Who do you have? Who do you have to listen to you, to share your stories, to share your aches and pains, and your successes, and your successes? Yeah,
that's right.
It's really valuable. So I echo your thanks. It's wonderful stuff. So, and thank you everybody for downloading and listening to this very episode of this very podcast, The Secret Podcast. And we sure appreciate your time and your attention. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD Podcast.